Hey, good morning. I am at my dad's house. You see, this is where I get my work ethic from, with all of his degrees and accolades and endorsements and professionals on the wall here. I wanted to briefly give you some tips because when I come back from Arizona, I'm going to be having open call again, and I really need everything to go smoothly. Okay. So I need you to arrive at the building 30 minutes ahead of your appointment because you need to check in with security, but also you may find parking and you're going to need that time because if you park in the mall, it can take you about 10 minutes to walk through the mall to my building. Sometimes there's a line at security. You have to understand that the building that I'm in has 19 floors. I'm not the only person in this building. So there are a lot of people coming in and out of that building all day and lots of foot traffic. So you might get stuck at security. So you need to, plan ahead, plan accordingly. Make sure that you have your 8x10 headshot and resume ready. Okay. Make sure that they're stapled, all four corners. Make sure that it's to industry standard. Don't hand me two separate sheets of paper. Don't hand me something that's 8.5 by 11. I'm at the point now where I've said 8x10. I've even said it in emails to where I think if you do show up with 8.5 by 11, I most likely am going to promptly conclude our meeting at this point. I've said this enough times in every video, and you guys are not listening. I'm a stickler for industry standard. Do not come in here with materials that are 8.5 by 11. Do not come in here with materials that are printed on LaserJet that just look terrible. Um, yeah. It may not seem like a big deal to you, but it is a big deal to me. There are some casting directors that may not find it to be a big deal. That's great. But, there's like 500 casting directors in town, so 1 out of 500. Okay. Um, Come in ready to perform a Snickers script. Everybody's given the same Snickers script. You're going to memorize that hopefully and come in and read it. If you do need to hold it to glance at it, then do that. Don't just set it off to the side and then start trying to make up lines in that script. It doesn't do you any good. At one point, there, not even one point, at several times in the meetings from last week, I basically was just like, grab the paper and read it because what you were doing was so terrible. At the same time, I would say choose an appropriate eye line. Pretty much every person who has tried to deliver that script while looking at me in the eyes has failed. They have forgotten their lines. Apparently, I'm just too intense for them. I have no idea. Um, you shouldn't have to be like, wait, can I start over? You know what I'm saying? You should be able to come in and just nail this Snickers commercial script, whatever. Um, do your research about the agency and about me ahead of time. You know what I'm saying? And don't get so nervous and don't feel like you need to ask questions just to ask questions. I had somebody ask a question that I believe the answer, if I can't remember some of the stuff, I have to just literally block it out and let it go because otherwise it'll just kill me. But um, they literally had told me about myself in terms of, not in a mean way, but told me, my bio, like what they had read in my bio, and then asked me a question that they already knew from my bio, and it was weird. And so I felt like that person was just asking just to ask something because they feel like they should ask something. Things that I do hate, which you know about, is I hate name dropping. Do not mention any of my clients at all. Like at all. Just don't. I don't care who you know that's on my roster, who you think you know. The truth is that you most likely don't really know them because they didn't tell me you were coming. Let's just put it like that. Just because you worked up with them on a project doesn't mean you need to mention them. Don't worry about them. Worry about you. Um, don't try to name drop CDs. I had somebody name drop a music video CD, and I'm like, that has nothing to do with TV and film right now. Maybe that CD will transition, but that's like you just don't need to name drop anybody. That's the thing. You can tell me about relationships that you have if you have a working list. I recommend that, if you are a true professional, you have that spreadsheet readily available showing here are the people that have called me in, here are the CDs that are more popular. A lot of you are going out for student films and things like that, and a lot of these student films, they're casting themselves, like the producer director is casting themselves. And so they're not working with a casting director. Not that there's anything wrong with that. It's just that I won't see projects from that person on a regular basis. There are people who post breakdowns all day, every day. Okay. And so those are the CDs that we have a working relationship with. Those are the CDs that we want to know whether or not you've been seen by them and what the outcome was. Okay. Um, know your resume. That is the most annoying thing, like for me, for instance, from corporate America, I've always had multiple copies of my resume at the ready where I've been able to hand a resume to a person or persons and then look at my resume at the same time so that while they're asking me questions, I know what they're asking about, even though I know my life. But I think that that's something that you guys need to be doing is know your resume. you know, if I ask you, what improv training you've taken and you blank because you're nervous, it happens, we get brain farts, have another copy of your resume in front of you to be like, hey, I've taken groundlings. Hey, I've done this. Hey, I've done that. I'm looking at your resume, but I'm still going to ask you questions about things that are already there because I want to hear your response. And I also want to be able to call your bluff. There are people like there was one girl once, she had on her LA casting profile that she took commercial training with Terry Berlin, except Terry Berlin's name was spelled so incorrectly. Like we're not talking just like, an I instead of a Y. We were talking like Berland was spelled out damn near phonetically. Like it was not how she spelled her name in any way, shape, or form. And so I literally had to ask this woman, did you really go see her? Because that's not how you spell her name. Okay. Um, we're just gonna have a conversation. Don't be nervous. You know what I'm saying? It's just me. I've never been that person that's like, oh, I'm hot shit. I'm this, that, and the other. That's something that you guys have put on me because of your insecurities or whatever your issue is. I'm a regular human being. My clients who know me, we have drinks together, we talk shit together. I'm a regular person and I cannot express that enough. I'm a person that, I'm strong in my convictions and my opinion and how I say what I say. And I have reasons for why I say what I say because I experience certain things. And that's why I try to explain things to you guys, but I'm not better than you. And I would say you do need to have some training. I literally had a man come in last week who had no training. His resume and his headshot were not to industry standard. They were terrible. He didn't look like his headshot. He literally stole tape from reception to tape it together. I had heard somebody digging around at the reception desk. Don't touch my reception desk. Leave their stuff alone. Um, and I asked him, where he had trained, and he told me that um, he went to college. That basically he didn't need training because he went to college. And all I could do was just smile and laugh because I was just like, you have no idea. I will tell you flat out, you're not better than anybody because you went to college. When he said that, I responded. I said, I went to college. Most of my clients have masters of the fine arts. Everybody went to college. They still understand that you have to have training outside of university. Okay, so don't come in here telling me that you just graduated AMDA or ADA or NIFA, UCLA, USC, Tisch School of the Arts, Cal Arts, Yale. I don't care. You have to have commercial training because the schools that you're going to are for theater. Film and TV is not the same. Being on camera is not the same. I could tell you flat out. I used to have people audition for another commercial. I had a theater person come in and he decided to throw his arms out in my office and say, "This is me," and all this stuff. And I'm just like, yo, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? If that was an extreme close up, they're going to cut and they're going to redirect and they're going to try again. You guys have to understand that film is different. The reason why theater would be helpful is because we understand the discipline and dedication that theater is and the time that it takes for you to really dive into that character and embody that. And so that's where theater is appealing. But you now need to take the time to transition into what film and TV is. And I can tell you honestly, people that have gone to NYFA, New York Film Academy, they don't come in prepared. Um, you just really don't. I don't know why that. Well, I know why that is. Um, so you really do need to take some time and go to a good improv school, go to a good commercial class, preferably taught by a working casting director, preferably not by someone who hasn't taped a commercial since 1980. I'm still on the fence about actors who have been in X amount of hundreds of commercials. Um, you know, yeah, they know what's going on, but for me, it's a marketing thing. They're not the one that's going to help you get in the room, but you wowing the socks off of Lori Records is going to help you get in the room when you take her commercial class. So that's also why I kind of recommend working with the CD, and it also helps you build that relationship. They get to know you, they get to see your personality. So always come in on your best behavior and do your best work. This is a conversation that a lot of CDs have said. I've watched some tapes where I think they interviewed about 12 CDs and they all said, come in not only just prepared, but come in, wowing that room, whether it's two lines. Um, Carol Morrow is shooting a show today because she came in that room and she wowed them with her two lines. Sometimes that's all it takes. Um, So to recap, show up 30 minutes early. Know what you know what your brand is. Know what you want. Um, I can't determine that for you. I can kind of say, like, people will ask me, well, what do you see me going out as? And I'm like, young mom. Oh, but I'm not a mom. I'm only 25. Yeah, well, in commercials, you're ancient. It's the same issue I had with seniors. I went and scouted some people that were 50 and up. And they're like, well, I'm not a senior. Well, guess what? You are in the commercial world. So you need to know your brand and know your type. That makes it easier for me to figure out whether or not we can help you, figure out whether or not we can work with you. And then just try not to talk yourself out of a good deal. I had some people come in and they just had verbal diarrhea and it was bad. It was really bad. Um, and then digressing from open call, if you're watching this, I'll give you a little bit of a tips and tricks for theatrical at the same time. Um, this goes for your self tapes, unless the self tape specifically says, submit your best scene, your best take. What you need to be doing is submitting, multiple takes, trying it different ways. You should always want to make your audition in person. You shouldn't ever be like, I need the tape because I don't want to take off from work. You're not going to book. Your self-tape technique isn't that strong, and I can attest to that specifically for some of my clients. There's some tapes that came in and I was just like, yeah, they're not going to book that. You guys need to be in that room and get that redirect from that casting director, because sometimes you guys are way off in your scene analysis. But also, if you do get an audition for theatrical, you need to be binge watching the hell out of that show that night. It is so disappointing to see tapes come in where someone hasn't even bothered to watch a show and they're way off. I can give an example. I won't name the show, but just know that the show is about, living the street life. And I had a client do her tape and she's speaking in perfect English, but the whole scene is about making sure that business, drugs, stuff like that, is being conducted. And she didn't dive in the way she should have. And I know it's because she didn't watch the show. And in fact, after I tape this, I'm about to ask her, did you happen to watch that show before you turned in that tape? She's going to say no. I already know. Say